Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about the NWSL, women's soccer, just soccer, only soccer. So it's been a while since I did one of these videos asking what is going on at so-and-so club. I did it for A While Rain last year in Manchester United's women's team, and I originally planned on doing a part 2 for Man United's women's team, but I got really busy and couldn't do it. Personally, I think they really need to get some transfers and trades in and hopefully keep Jackie Gronin. Anyway, I never thought I would be asking what the hell is going on at the Orlando Pride. I feel like this is a question a lot of people are thinking about and asking. The Pride team and players are great, they're doing their best and working with what they have, but the Pride front office seems really sus and sketchy. Before I get into it, a lot of this is just me speculating and fan speculation. There isn't much for me to go off of, but I think it's enough to maybe raise a few eyebrows and question what is really going on with the Orlando Pride, particularly the Pride front office. I do want to say, if you're looking for answers, you're not going to find it here. This mini investigation actually had left me with more questions than answers. So let's go back a couple weeks to Friday, June 3rd, 2022. Head coach Amanda Cromwell and the Orlando Pride are playing in an away match and taking on the Houston Dash. The lineup and match was weird from the start. The Pride were playing in a 4-3-3 with Gunny Jonsdottir and Carrie Abello in the back line, positions that they don't normally play in. Jonsdottir plays in the midfield, and Abello, despite being listed as a defender originally, had been playing as a forward with the Pride team. The team had virtually no defenders. By the end of the first half, the Pride were down by 3. In the second half, despite a formation change late in the match and that pushed Abello up to the midfield, it was too late and the Dash scored 2 more goals, ending the match 5-0 in favor of the Houston Dash. It was the Pride's worst loss of the season until, well, Sunday, June 19th against the Portland Thorns, but we'll get into that later. So a loss is a loss, and the Pride and coach Amanda Cromwell couldn't stay stuck on this loss because they had another away match that they needed to prepare for. That match would be against the Chicago Red Stars on Sunday, June 12th. The NWSL and NWSL Players Association had something else in mind. On June 7th, it was announced by the Orlando Pride that head coach Amanda Cromwell and assistant coach Sam Greene were placed on temporary administrative leave. Both were being investigated by the NWSL and Players Association for an alleged retaliation against a player. I already did a video discussing part of the investigation into Cromwell and Greene, and I'll have it linked in the description below. At the same time, the NWSL had froze the Orlando Pride's roster movement, which meant the Pride could not trade or waive players currently on the Pride roster. Remember this part because it's going to be important for later. After news of Cromwell and Greene allegedly retaliating against a player, many fans were concerned, and some were wondering who was the player that was being retaliated against. The name of the player wasn't released due to privacy reasons, but fans had their own theories and ideas, and I had mine. Personally, I didn't want to dwell on it too much. I figured whoever this player was who reported Cromwell and Greene, she deserved her privacy first and foremost. So I left it at that and decided to focus on the Orlando Pride's upcoming match against the Chicago Red Stars. Around this time, assistant coach Seb Hines took over the reins as the Orlando Pride interim head coach. Sunday, June 12, 2022, it's game day. Orlando Pride versus the Chicago Red Stars. The Pride roster for the match has dropped, and I noticed people were looking at the roster and asking/retweeting it with quotes asking, "Where is Amy Turner?" At first, I figured maybe she was injured, but looking at the injury report, she wasn't injured, or she wasn't listed there. She was actually healthy and good to go. Then I thought maybe it's yellow card accumulation, but I couldn't even remember the last time she played in a match. The questions continued. Where is Amy Turner? This is kind of where things get interesting. One Twitter user posted this picture of Sydney Leroux's Twitter likes after the lineup came out. LaRue was liking the tweets of people who were asking about Amy Turner. The picture itself is legit. I did look at LaRue's Twitter, and they were all there. Around this time, I think a lot of people were thinking that it was Amy Turner who Amanda Cromwell and Sam Greene were alleged to have retaliated against. Honestly, I was still very skeptical. Maybe there was another reason why Amy Turner wasn't available for this match against the Red Stars. I didn't want to jump the gun too soon. As for the match against the Red Stars, the Pride would go on to lose 1-0. Another loss for the Pride in the books as the season rolled on. With the international break coming up, the Pride had one more game to hopefully get on the scoreboard and grab 3 points. That game would be another away match, this time against the Portland Thorns. The week leading up to the Portland Thorns match was a busy one, and there was a lot going on in women's soccer. Every now and then I would see people asking about Amy Turner on Twitter, but it got overshadowed because the roster for the U.S. Women's National Team had dropped. Kristen Press announced she had torn her ACL. Tobin Heath was back in the NWSL and had signed with OL Reign. And rumors of Jordan Huitema possibly leaving PSG and signing with OL Reign were starting to spread. On Wednesday, June 15th and Thursday, June 16th, I did come across pictures fans posted saying that you could no longer get Amy Turner's name and number on an Orlando Pride jersey. At this point, I figured she was going to be leaving the Pride. That would be the only reason why her name and number wouldn't be there. Even if it was out of stock, Orlando Pride, the shop, or where you could get the jerseys would probably make a note of that it was out of stock and would be available later on. However, no official statement from the Pride or Turner had been released just yet. Then on Friday, June 17, 2022, the Orlando Pride announced they had bought out Amy Turner's contract. Amy Turner tweeted, "After a year in the NWSL with Orlando Pride, I have decided to move on and explore a new challenge in my career. Thank you to everyone at Orlando who supported me during my time there. Wishing the club good luck in the future." After Amy's tweet and Orlando Pride's statement, Jeff Kassoff of Equalizer Soccer, link in the description below, writes, "The Orlando Pride's roster freeze has been lifted. Orlando bought out the contract of Amy Turner, who isn't discovery eligible in the NWSL, meaning she can't play in the league until 2023. Orlando's roster was frozen from transactions since June 7th. Remember, the roster was frozen since June 7th so that the Pride couldn't waive or trade current players. How is it that the Pride buys out Amy Turner's contract and after doing that are now able to trade and waive players? When I saw that, it kind of hit me that Amy Turner may have been on the receiving end of Cromwell and Greene's alleged retaliation. Maybe she was the one that reported them. I do want to add, as of filming this video, Cromwell and Greene are still on administrative leave, and the NWSL and Players Association, their investigation into Cromwell and Greene is still ongoing. As for Amy Turner, fans and players across the NWSL were reaching out in support of her. Sydney LaRue, Jess Fishlock, Casey Stoney, Carrie Abello, Erica Timrack, to name a few. Angara James, Pride midfielder and Amy's fiance, made her displeasure clear. She said, "Disappointing, sad, angry are just not enough words. You deserve so much better, but never doubt you and the amazing person you are. You are the best teammate anyone could ask for. Always got your back, always by your side." One fan even said, "Orlando Pride, what did you do to her?" Her being Amy Turner. However, the post that really grabbed my attention and made me ask what is going on with the Orlando Pride came from our former Pride goalkeeper and former captain, Ashlyn Harris. Her post on Instagram says, "Orlando at it again. Good luck, Amy. It was an absolute honor to be your friend and teammate. You deserve the world. Glad you will get that somewhere else." Orlando at it again. Is Orlando at it again in the sense that they're getting rid of certain players? Have the players had issues with the Pride front office in the past? Like, what do you know, Ash? Here's the thing. At the end of last season, so many players left the Orlando Pride. You can say it was a mass exodus. Alex Morgan and Taylor Korniak went to San Diego. Allie Riley went to Angel City to be closer to her family. I think Alex Morgan also did the same. She wanted to be closer to her family. Emily Von Egmond got traded to San Diego. Ashlyn Harris and Allie Krieger left for Gotham. And Phoebe McLaren, I still remember, had told Amanda Cromwell she wanted to be traded and was soon scooped up by Laura Harvey and OL Reign. There could have been more, but those were the ones that I remember off the top of my head. I know a lot of people and Pride fans were shocked by so many players leaving the Pride. And before, I thought the Pride wanted to rebuild the team, but at the same time, I really started to think something sus was going on when Ashlyn Harris and Allie Krieger decided to leave. It's not every day a captain decides to leave their team. Like, look how long Lou Barnes had been with OL Reign, or how long Wendy Renard had been with Lyon, or how long Alexandra Popp had been with Wolfsburg and the German women's national team. Did Ashlyn and Allie have issues with the Pride front office? Did any of these other players have issues with the front office? Right now, the Pride has rebuilt the team with a lot of young and new players, and maybe that was the Pride's intention all along, to get rid of veteran players and bring on some new players. Interestingly enough, some of the players I mentioned earlier, the ones who left the Pride, are actually excelling at their new clubs, with Taylor Korniak even receiving her first call-up to the U.S. women's national team, something that didn't happen last season when she was with the Pride. Going back to Amy Turner, there's still some questions that have yet to be answered, and the biggest one being, why were Cromwell and Greene alleged to have retaliated against her? How did they retaliate against her? What did they do to her or try to do to her? Why did the Orlando Pride buy out Amy Turner's contract? Did she really want to leave, or did they just want her gone? I feel like there is something missing here, the missing piece to why this all started and how we got to this point in the first place. Some fans theorized it had to do with playtime, and Amy Turner not getting any playtime and her being singled out. That could definitely be part of it, but still, the question to that is why? Why Amy Turner out of everyone on the Pride team? She's not the only veteran player on the Pride team. Why was she targeted? Unless the NWSL and Players Association finish their investigation and make their findings public, unless Amy or other Pride players, past and current, want to come forward and talk about what happened, which they don't have to do if they don't feel comfortable doing so, we may never know what was/is actually going on with the Orlando Pride. On Sunday, June 19th, the Orlando Pride played in an away match against the Portland Thorns, where they suffered their worst loss so far in the season. A brutal 6-0 defeat at the hands of the Portland Thorns, karma perhaps for the way the Pride front office treated Amy Turner. I agree with most fans and players across the NWSL that Amy Turner deserved better, and I hope she finds it someplace else. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today or tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.